everybody, it's Kristina of CraftyPaws. I am so excited to be sharing this upcycling project with you guys. This is my project for the Halloween YouTube Hop that's being hosted by Slim Cards, who is Shonda. And she asked each of us participating to create a 3D Halloween project. So I've been racking my brain since she told us, and she gave us lots of advance notice, and I decided I was going to finally dive into my Graphic 45 hoard vault and use some of the papers that I have been hoarding. And I'm also really excited because this is also a upcycling project. I upcycled a cigar box, and I'm going to be just taking you through step by step how I created this. But as you can see, it opens up. Everything is lined inside and out. Even the underside. I've mounted it on some legs, and I've got lots and lots of metal pieces, some soft pieces like this crocheted piece, some paper. I've got some glossy accents on here for shine, and I'm also going to be walking you through how I made all of my metal pieces more or less consistent, because I started off having flowers that were copper and bronze and silver, and I wanted this to have a more cohesive look. So I'm going to share with you guys the process that I used to make all of these kind of this gunmetal silver gray. I hope you guys enjoy this process video, and remember, a lot of the YouTube Hop stops on this Halloween Hop are going to be giving away prizes, as am I. You can check out all the prizes that are in my prize package in the prior video, which I will link to below. And just leave a nice comment in the comment section of this video and you'll be entered to win. And without further ado, here's the process. So first of all, I'm taking a wooden knob and I've put it on the end of a broken paintbrush just to hold it from underneath and not to get my hands messy. And I'm painting the whole thing with black gesso. You can use black acrylic paint too, but I just happen to have the black gesso, so I went ahead and used that. I also took the cigar box and painted that black gesso all over all the corners. And that's because I wanted to have some give where the paper I wasn't going to cut exactly to size to fit. Now I've cut all the different pattern papers from a variety of Graphic 45 papers, from the Steampunk Spells collection and an Eerie Tale collection, and I've inked all the edges with Tim Holtz Distress ink in black soot. Now I'm putting on the top piece of pattern paper, and now I'm going around and showing you the process of inking all the edges for the sides of the box. I'm not going to show you each and every panel that I've covered, but I will show you this process, which is basically cutting the paper to size with a little bit, maybe about 1/8 of an inch around each panel side left over, and then inking all of the edges with that Tim Holtz Distress ink in black soot. And now I'm taking the Beacon 3-in-1 glue, and I love this glue because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, but then it's super secure and permanent. I'm also using that same glue for the Tim Holtz Ideology foundations. These are the feet that I'm adding to the bottom of the box. And I think that not only literally elevates the box, but I think it adds a kind of a presence to the box. So I'm just using that 3-in-1 glue, and I'm adhering these kind of gunmetal silver feet. This is from the Foundations collection from Tim Holtz, and I think they really kind of add I don't know, spooky eeriness, little extravagance almost. And I'm just making sure that I get them on all 4 corners. Now I've decided at the front of the box, I thought it would be kind of fun to have a keyhole. And this is from the Tim Holtz Keyholes collection. And I've just picked one that just needs a couple of little fasteners. And I've attached that to the back, but I'm not putting that through the box. So I'm just going to attach it with the Beacon 3-in-1. Now I'm cutting a little bit of black cardstock just to fill in the keyhole, because I don't want the pattern paper to show through, you know, the spiderweb pattern to show through that keyhole. I want it to look black inside. And like I said, the 3-in-1 dries really quickly. So
I put it there for a couple of seconds and it pretty much stayed. Now I'm taking a steampunk spells image. This is kind of the focal point of the main box, and I'm fussy cutting around this girl. And I don't show you that whole process, but I did want to show you that the areas between her torso, her arm, and the bicycle handles, and around that raven, I am cutting out with an X-Acto blade. And that's just because, you know, obviously you can't get a scissor into that little area as easily as you can a craft knife like this. Really simple though. And now I'm taking my Memento Tuxedo Black marker and inking all around the edges of this fussy cut image, because I don't want the white area of the edge of the paper to show. And I think this gives a real good finishing touch to it. You'll see though, I'm gonna have to flip over the image and get all into those nooks and crannies around her hair and around the feathers in her hat. You really can't do that holding it upright. So I'm putting it on a scrap piece of paper and inking from the back side with that marker. And that makes sure that all those little nooks and crevices don't remain white when I adhere this image to the front of the box. And it doesn't matter what the back of this image looks like, so I'm not worried that the little bit of marker on the back is going to bleed through or anything. I'm also taking the black soot ink and just inking the edges just to have it kind of blend a little bit better. Now that's the position I'm thinking about putting her on, but I've decided I'm going to pop her up just a little bit with fun foam. And I'm just going to show you how I go about kind of placing the fun foam. This is much easier and more cost effective, I think, than using double-sided foam adhesive. And I'm just going to use the Beacon 3-in-1 glue to glue on these little fun foam pieces. And I won't show you the entire process because I do put a lot of this fun foam on, but I'm just going to show you that's kind of how I do it. I kind of eyeball it, snip a little bit, put it on the back side of this image, and it's going to kind of support the whole image. Behind her, I thought it was a little busy, this pattern, because of the silhouettes are so intricate. So I thought just behind her, I would use this black crochet doily that I had gotten and had in my stash, gosh, for several years. I think it was a Michael's buy from their dollar bin when it was the dollar bin. And I'm just using more of that 3-in-1 glue to adhere on this crochet doily on the kind of lower left or just the left side of the front lid. And now I'm gonna glue the back side on the underside of the lid. And I made sure that the lid could fully close even with that doily tucked around that corner or the side of it. Not a problem with making the whole thing, the lid close without, jamming the crochet doily. Now I'm going to put a lot of that 3-in-1 on the back of the fun foam again of that image and put her into position. I think she looks great right there. Now I am going to move on to the next step, which is all of the various colors of metal pieces that I'm going to be using. Most of the pieces that you see here are kind of a brassy color or bronze color, and I'm first putting black gesso on all of these flowers, the corner pieces. I'm not going to show you all of it, but basically I'm putting a light coat. I'm not being really, detailed about this. I just want to make sure that the metal is covered more or less. And as you can see, if you don't like the mess of paint on your fingers, you might want to wear gloves for this part, just because a lot of these pieces are so intricate. There was no avoiding getting ink or gesso, black gesso on my fingers. So I just, got comfortable with the idea and just kept going until I got all of these metal pieces covered with the black gesso. And it doesn't take that long to dry as long as you don't glop on the gesso. Next, I'm going to take 2 colors of Deco Art Metallic Luster. This is kind of a waxy finish and it has a great shine. So for the kind of flatter pieces, I'm going to first put on the coat of black shimmer. That's the darker gray that you see below. And then over top, I'm putting the silver spark, which really hits the highlights of these, the raised portions of these little filigree pieces. And I've sped it up a lot so you could see the comparison. The one on the bottom had the silver spark and the one on the top didn't, and you can see where it started on the back side. So one more time, the back side, the front, now covered with the black shimmer, and then lastly, just silver spark. And I'm making sure as I'm doing this, you are seeing that I'm doing this with my fingers. I'm using my index finger for the black shimmer and my middle finger for the silver spark so as not to mix the colors in the little tubs. I've brought you in a little closer so you can hopefully see the difference as each layer is put on. And that's the background piece that I'm going to put underneath the handle. Now for these metal pieces that are super deep or intricate with kind of depth, I couldn't get my fingers underneath the top layers and into those crevices, so I'm using a stencil brush. I think that one's also from Deco Arts. It's, relatively inexpensive, but it's a stiff bristle, and I can really jam it into those nooks and crannies. And then for that top lighter silver spark, I'm just using my finger to hit the highlights, the top points of those filigree pieces. Deep inside, again, if I want to get that color deep into the metal piece, then I have to use that stencil brush. This piece is a crown headed key, and I thought this would be fun to add to the image, kind of the front area of the bicycle where her handles come from. I thought that would be kind of a fun little metal piece to add to that image. So I'm gonna hot glue that on there, and it now looks like that's part of the bicycle, I think. And I've hot glued the knob onto that lower filigree piece. I'm layering a flower with another filigree piece just to make the flower a little bit bigger too. I am using hot glue at this point because I really need it to adhere faster than the 3-in-1, and especially for metal, hot glue I think is the way to go. I first put in the upper left corner piece and then the lower left corner piece, and I'm putting that right over the image, and I'm just trying to make sure that I don't glue the filigree pieces all the way to the outside edge of the box. This is, remember, going to be the lid portion, so it has to be able to lift up. I can't adhere it all the way to the edge of the box. And now I'm fiddling a little bit with all of these little metal flowers, trying to figure out where it might look the best. And I think I ultimately, pretty quickly come to the conclusion that I'm going to do kind of the whole right side kind of in an arch. I'm going to hot glue these last 3 center flowers. I'm doing the bottom, then the top, and then that center piece because I want to make sure there's just enough space and not gaps in between. And now I'm gonna have another little point of interest on the lid. I've put together a spinner piece as well as a compass coin piece. And so that piece is going to be able to have the spinner spin. And I made sure that the north was facing up, and I thought that was just a fun little addition. And I thought that single piece by itself was a little odd looking, so I'm also adding some steampunk clocks, and that's in the appropriate color. And then I have this tiny little $4 little metal piece. I don't know where it came from. I've had it in my metal junk box for a long time, and I thought I like things in odd numbers, so having 3 little pieces there would be better. And I just use more of that metallic luster and silver spark to make that $4 little piece coordinate better with the other 2 pieces right next to it. Now I wanted the arch of the flowers to connect a little better, so I'm adding another filigree piece, and you saw me putting that silver spark metallic luster on with my finger because I'd forgotten to do that before, and I'm adding a rose on top of that. Now I have a couple more small little roses that I hadn't yet put into place, so I'm just going to make the lower right corner and the upper left corner look a little more lush by adding these 2 additional small roses as well. And now for some of these flower pieces, the centers were empty, and I thought I could put gems in there, but I didn't want it to be too sparkly, so I'm actually using a Recollections ebony glitter glue and filling those centers. And then I decided the image also needed some shine, so I'm using glossy accents on the handlebars and on her clock necklace piece, and also on her goggles. Now I'm using my heat tool to eliminate all of those glue strings. That's a little tip for you if you didn't know. The glue strings that you've been pulling at disappear when you put hot heat to it. And for some of these flowers, they also had little stamens, and the little ends were round and were vacant. So I'm using Nuvo glitter drops in Midnight Sky for just a hint of blue color. I decided on the right side by the flowers, I needed some additional images to accompany that image with the wings on the bicycle. So I had a couple of little stamps that I fussy cut out in detail because they have all those little scalloped edges. And I'm just popping them up using more fun foam to get a little more dimension from them, tucking them here and there around the flowers. And you saw me briefly just inking the edges. I'm layering up some fun foam to make sure I'm getting enough dimension. I want these pieces, even though they're added at the last minute, to look like they belong and have that finished look. Again, I'm using the beacon glue for those pieces. And I just wanted to show you briefly, this is the inside of the box. Like I said, I layered all of the sides of the box. This is the underside of the box. And here's a close-up. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And I hope you have fun hopping along this Halloween YouTube hop. And fingers crossed that you are one of the lucky winners for one of the prizes. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful crafty day.